So hi there to anyone joining me this evening for Teatime Tuesday. Because I'm on Zoom, there is a 20-second delay, so I won't be able to see you for a bit, but I will get started maybe a minute or so just to give people time to jump on. I hope you're all very well this evening or this morning or this afternoon, depending on where you are watching. And I'll just connect to my phone so I can see who's joining this evening. And for those of you who haven't joined me before, this is your opportunity to just pause, have a cup of tea or whatever your choice of drink is, giving yourself permission to settle for 10 minutes, 15 minutes or half an hour. It's usually half an hour, the session. I go into a little bit about what the practice I'm sharing is and the background behind it. I was actually due to have another interview, which I did last week, but unfortunately the person who I was interviewing wasn't available this evening. But I am going to focus on the same subject. So we're going to be talking a little bit more about how you can use the breath to release stress. So yeah, if you're used to this session and you want to go and grab a cup of tea, tea of choice, I've got my tea, I'll be talking about what I'm drinking, then please do. I do a little intro, so you've got a little time to get your hug in a mug, what I call, especially in London at the moment, which is it's really cold and dreary, so having something warm is a bit of a treat. I find it's a bit of a treat anyway. So I'm just seeing if I've got anybody joining on before I start the session today. So if you have joined me, please just give me a wave, say hey, let me know you're here. Some of you I can see your name, some of you I can't, so do drop your name in as well, because that's quite useful when you're holding a space, which is what I call it, for anybody listening who's sort of participating in the practice. Quite like to know who I have on the session. And it's quite good for other people to see who they're sharing their pause with as well. All right, so I'm going to get started. For those of you who haven't met me before, my name is Astra, and I'm a mindfulness mentor for wellbeing in the workplace and founder of Therapy Yoga. And what I love to do is help people go from stress to strength. And this was very much my journey. I came to yoga a long time ago, around 20 years ago, when I was working in a corporate environment, which I would say was I found rewarding, but there was a point where maybe the stress was outweighing the reward, and there's always this in the workplace, there's always this tug of war between your passion for what you do, if you're doing something that you're passionate about, and pressure. And you know, pressure is it happens to a varying degree depending on how passionate you are, I suppose. And so when I was working in that environment, I think that it had a knock-on effect on my health and well-being. And what the practice of yoga did, and I came to it as a physical practice, not the other aspects of yoga, it really helped me in all different aspects of my life, not just the way I interacted with stress. But the main thing is it gave me lots of tools that I'm now using as part of my business to share with people. And there are easy tools that you can just integrate into your life that make a big difference to my mind. And that's what, you know, lots of people have told me in the 6-7 years that I've been teaching through Therapy Yoga, through my company Therapy Yoga. And yeah, I would say I'm a stress at work survivor, and it's like an ongoing thing when you have been in situations where stress may be bordering on trauma, you know, where the symptoms that you're showing are kind of like anxiety, a little bit of depression, low mood, all these things rolled into one, which kind of on an ongoing basis can turn into a trauma, but you can manage it, you can prevent it getting to that stage. And so that's what this is all about. And what I do in these sessions is I share a little sip of awareness where we just pause with your drink of choice, and I share a practice. And this evening, I'm going to be sharing just a simple breath observation practice, which I hope you'll join me in seeing how it feels. And so whether you're feeling relaxed or whether you're feeling stressed, I think this is a really useful practice to become a little bit more aware of your body, your mind, your breath. So that's kind of the three things that you really need to think about when you're becoming aware of stress. Generally check in, you know, how does the body feel? You know, what's the breath doing? And how do they relate to my emotions and my mind? Anyway, so let's get to the kind of more fun bit. Well, I find it fun. I am drinking, and I always cover my tea. I say this every week, but it does if you're drinking herbal tea, which I'm actually having a break from caffeine. And I think I would say I have maybe 3 caffeinated drinks a day, which is tea, like black tea, Assam tea, you know, traditional Eastern tea, and green tea. And I was always of the view that, you know, this is better than coffee, but actually I think it's just double. So coffee, you know, 1 tea, sort of black tea is equivalent to 2, 1 coffee is equivalent to 2 teas. So if you're drinking quite a lot of tea, it's as if you are drinking coffee as well. So I think I wouldn't say there's anything wrong with drinking caffeine, although if you drink too much for your own personal circumstances, there can be some knock-on effects. So I do try to reduce the amount of caffeine I have, but as I said, I love black tea, I love green tea. But today I'm drinking a spiced chamomile vanilla with roasted chicory root, and this is a Twinings. I don't get sponsored by any tea companies, but I do share what I enjoy drinking, but it's one of my favorites. It's called Moments of Calm. You probably can't see that actually. No, you can't see that. It's called Moments of Calm, which I think is quite appropriate for this session. So just checking in. Got one person on. Hello, I don't know who you are, but good to see you. And do drop in any comments, any questions, whether you're watching me live or whether you're going to be watching me on the replay. I do get back to the comments, and I do love to hear what people think about the sessions as well. Yeah, so I'm just going to take my top off my tea. I'll leave the tea bag in. I don't mind it strong. And so if you're with tea and you'd like to join me just for a little sip of awareness and a pause, sit well, just become aware of the feet in the floor, maybe use the support of your chair to sit tall in your spine. So there is this idea that if your spine is lengthened, that has a relationship to how you feel. So your posture is quite important. So this idea, remember that saying, your chest is high, you know, and people say, oh, her chest is high. It's very much, I think, about, you know, that confidence, that feeling grounded and maybe self-supported. So when you can, in a comfortable way, sit nice and sit well, then I think that will help as well if you're feeling quite low or quite stressed. All right, so when you're ready, you're just going to allow yourself to come into that pause and notice the hand on the cup. And then when you're ready, just take in the aromas before you sip the tea. And for me, this is really revealing because I never really take the time to do this. You might even look at some of the color textures of your tea and just see what you notice. And in anticipation, when you're ready, just taking a sip of awareness. And if you haven't got tea, that's fine. Maybe just use these moments to really come into your seat. Okay, all right, so I'm just going to talk a little bit about the breath and how we can use the breath. And what I find useful for stress is when you can deepen the breath and lengthen the breath on the out breath. So you're not wanting to think about breathing. You know, people say take a breath and people automatically go. So this is not what you want to do when you're feeling stressed. So when someone says to you take a breath, what you're wanting to do is think about that in breath as quite a soft intake of energy maybe, and the out breath is where you want to lengthen, and that can be either breathing in and out through the nose or breathing in and out through the mouth, in through the nose, out through the mouth. And so that's what I would recommend if you're just taking a simple breath in and out to calm. And from a yogic perspective, the breath is not just the breath, it's connected to what is known as the life force. So it's said to have many elements connected to all that is. So it's not seen necessarily as just a functional, way to live, as in you have to breathe to live. It is actually seen as being connected to a bigger force of energy. And so from that perspective, and it's called pranayama. So prana is the life force, and ayama is defined as the way of stretching or lengthening or expanding the breath, but it is very much seen as energy. So when you're coming into a breath practice, and if you listen to my podcast, my most recent podcast, I did this guidance where I said, when you're thinking about the in-breath, maybe think about drawing in that universal energy, and then using your out breath when it comes out to think about grounding and settling, or whatever you need actually, because I quite like to use my out breath to affirm, to have some kind of affirmation to myself on that out breath. So the in breath is energy, the out breath may be calm, maybe steadiness, maybe focus. So that's pranayama. And and I wrote down here in the Yoga Sutras, pranayama is described as the controlled intake and outflow of breath in a firmly established posture. When I was saying to you before, if you can, without kind of feeling like you're being forced to sit straight, if you can sit well when you're coming into a settling breath practice, that is very much recommended, particularly if you're inclined to be stressed. And I also wrote here that the breath, it's not just about moving the breath around the body, it's about setting a process of renewing that energy throughout the body. So that's the brain, all parts of the body. And when you come into a very silent breath practice, and I do this in some of my classes when you're lying on the floor, which is, a really effective way of using the breath in stress. When you're stressed, you even kind of sense tingling in the fingers and the toes, and maybe even visualize that breath moving around the body. So kind of contemplating yourself as a breath body is a really useful visualization, I find. And I might try and guide that on a podcast in a few months, I think, because it is a very useful practice. And then the other thing that I wrote down that I wanted to share today was that we need to always understand that the important thing to think about with stress is that our breath mirrors or corresponds with our emotions. So you will always be able to tell what's going on for you when you notice what's happening in the breath. So that was kind of the point that I just wanted to get across before we come into this breath practice. I'm just going to see if there's any questions or queries. Hi Mav, good to see you. Mav, I don't know how much of this you watched, but we're going to be coming into a breath practice where we're going to be noticing what's happening with the breath. So whether or not you're at the moment feeling anxious or stressed, or whether you're quite calm, this is a really useful practice for observing. So the first thing before even thinking about regulating the breath is to just see where the breath is. And a lot of the time that indicates where you are, presently. So sitting well, again, I'm going to sit up. And I've got my singing bowl. I'm going to just start this breath practice with a sound, and that's just a cue to drop in, just dropping, understanding. And if you've got lots of noise in the background, still join in if you can. So it's just a cue to drop in, and then I will hit the gong again as we end the practice. So let's begin. So I'm going to suggest you place your left hand by where you imagine the heart to be, and your right hand just cupping the belly. And you can just bring your eyes down, but keep your head hovering over the shoulders. And maybe swallow and relax the mouth. And one way to relax the mouth is to just run the tongue around the teeth. So it's almost like you're cleaning the teeth with the tongue. And just notice the supports behind you, if you have support for the back. And if you like, you can just start to breathe entirely through the nostrils. And just sense the breath sensation through the nose. And then just bringing some awareness into the right hand, so on the belly, or the belly button area, just noticing the rise and fall of the belly as you breathe, and have a befriending attitude to the belly as well. We're not doing anything to the belly other than just observing the movement of breath in your mind's eye. And then just become aware now of the left hand and the hand at the heart. So this is our place for centering. A useful place to put the hand when you need to calm down or connect with what's going on for you. Again, just keep a sense of the breath being smooth. So if you notice that there is any rough edges to the breath, encourage it to be a little bit deeper and longer. Again, just remembering not to breathe in too deep, but extending that out breath. So let the breath in be really natural. So you're going to take a breath in and just visualize and contemplate the heart space as you breathe in. And as you breathe out, visualizing that breath moving down into the base of the spine, into the seat, into the ground. And we'll just do that a couple more times before we close. And then your choice, you can take both hands, either palms up or palms down on your lap or legs. Maybe closing the eyes. Just allowing the mouth to open if you were only breathing through the nose, and check in, see how you feel after that practice. And so I thought I would share quite a simple practice, because I think when you are experiencing stress, and obviously stress is varied, is up and down, is different days, or you could be in a situation where you are noticing stress every day. You want things to be simple, just a really simple tool that can allow you to just come back to, in a way, take control of what's going on for you. Maybe the breath is erratic. You may even not notice it is until you come into that practice. So do let me know how you found that. Do tap into the chat. Any questions about any of the preamble or the practice itself, do let me know. I do like these sessions to be interactive, because one of the reasons why I started the tea time sessions is because I realized that although we're all at home, or some people are home, some people are working. I have a half, he hasn't stopped working since the lockdown in the UK, but for a lot of us, we're home working. We're starting to notice a lot of things that are lacking. So, you know, the social contact, the things that we probably would have used as ways of managing sort of everyday stress, like, you know, going to see a film, or, you know, seeing your friends, which is really important, and family. And also because of the situation at the moment, people are dealing with, you know, deeper issues, you know, like trauma and members of the family being sick, your own wellness and your own well-being and health as well. So I really wanted to come and do these tea times to just offer an opportunity, even for a small amount of time, whether it's 20 minutes, half an hour, or 5 minutes if you jump in or come back to the re-recording, to offer a way of giving you tools for when you need it. You might not need it now, but for when you need it. Hi Emma, good to see you. I don't know how long you've been watching, but please go back on the replay. I've shared a breath practice, a very simple breath practice called breath observation, actually, or breath awareness. It's not there are lots of different breath practices you can do, and because I'm a yoga teacher, I am very accustomed to doing more complicated things with the breath, called pranayama, where you hold the breath and you regulate the breath. And I'm also very influenced by qigong, and qigong is Chinese yoga. And with qigong, the sense of the breath is really about using it as energy. And with qigong, there's big breaths in and out. Actually, I can share one, and I do this in my class every week, actually. And for those of you who are used to my class, you'll know what I'm going to do now. So just try this as well. When you're ready, take a deep breath in and then draw the shoulders up to the ears. And then just take a breath out and drop the shoulders. If you like, do that 2 more times. Inhaling. I'll do it again. I love doing this. And then maybe just allow the palms to face up and notice the space between the ears and the shoulders. And just see how that felt for you. Because I tend to do this whenever I notice tension in my body. And there is always tension when you're stressed. And it tends to my mind, exist in the shoulders, the jaws, the neck. Although a lot of our chronic stress is in our spine, in our back, which is why yoga's so useful, because yoga is essentially a spinal discipline. We're working with the spine 4 ways. So in yoga practice, what we do is that we forward bend, we back bend, we do side bends, we do twists. And that's essentially, whether you're standing, sitting or lying, that's essentially all you're doing in yoga. Obviously, there's other things like pranayama, like breath practice and chanting and meditation, which is a part of the whole kind of holistic aspect of yoga. But yeah, I hope you found that. How did you find that shoulder? Feels more space. So yeah, we'll have, yeah, definitely look at the replay, Emma, with that breath practice, because I think you'll find it useful. But do let me know how you found it. But that shoulder release with the breath, which is inspired by Qigong, Chinese yoga, I use it every week. And there's other aspects that I integrate of Chinese yoga into my class, because my classes are very much about how can we use the body and the breath to release the chronic stress that we have in our body. And I think I mentioned this when I was in my interview on Tea Time last week, that when I first came into mindfulness and yoga, I was very skeptical. I was like, well, I'm not stressed. I'm quite a chilled out person. Why would I need things like mindfulness? And when I came to mindfulness, when I came to yoga, I was stressed. When I came to mindfulness, I wasn't. So the yoga had helped me be really relaxed. So when I came to mindfulness, I was like, well, I do yoga, I don't need the mindfulness. But what the mindfulness did with the meditation is it released my body and mind in a way that I didn't get through physical practice. So there are different elements and different levels of how you can use the body and the mind to your benefit. So I just thought I'd share that story. Yeah, because people might be confused. Well, I thought you came to yoga with stress, but I did come to yoga with stress, but I wasn't particularly stressed when I did mindfulness. But actually, that's the point I was going to make. So the mindfulness teacher said to me, whether you know it or not, we are all chronically stressed. It's just the nature of things. It's the nature of the world and how we interact as human beings in the world. We're all chronically stressed. So these things we can use at all different times. So yeah, if you've got your tea, have a sip. I'm just going to have a look at the comments. So yeah, so if you haven't got any more comments, I'm going to close. For those of you who watched it live, I hope you found that useful. And for those of you on the replay, I hope you find it useful too. Just to say that I've got 3 more sessions of my yoga for stress release, and that's on a Wednesday at 6 o'clock. I do it as an online class here in my living room. So this is what you see behind me, because normally my tea time is in the kitchen, but I had a little move around with the household, so I'm in the living room today. Yeah, so if you're interested in trying out online yoga for stress release, and actually if you just want to try it, you can try it as well, then just give me an email, astra@therapyyoga.co.uk, or you can reach out on my Facebook at Therapy Yoga for Wellbeing, or Instagram at Therapy Yoga. And yeah, check out my current podcast, which is called 4 Steps to Stop Stress, and I'm sharing a stop practice for stress. I'm working on my new podcast, and for December, really thinking about slowing down. Although, you know, there's lots of you're probably going shopping and things like this, and there's the kind of anticipation for Christmas. We really want to be thinking about slowing down in December. So I'm going to be doing some themes and practices around that as well. So yeah, so I've got another comment. I am the same, not too stressed until I realize I'm stressed. Yeah, Emma, yeah, exactly. And a lot of the time your body tells you that that's happening. So thank you for sharing, Emma. All right, so I'm going to close for today. Thank you very much for joining me, and I will see you next week. I am going to try and keep it to 5 o'clock so people roughly know when I'm coming on, and I'm hoping to have to interview someone really. I've had really great feedback about my interviews, just getting a different perspective on lots of tools that other teachers are sharing as well. So I'm quite keen to keep those up. Otherwise, just join me for tea and have a pause in your day. Take care all. Thank you. Bye.